Helen Jewett 23's murder in 1836 was America's first tabloid trial and the first time the murder of a courtesan received not only nationwide press but very detailed reporting in the New York Herald. In the trial that followed, public opinion was heavily divided. There were those that believed that Helen got exactly what she deserved, and those that believed a man with powerful connections once again escaped consequences. This is my new series, Archive Dive, a mystery from history. Helen was born Dorcas Doyen to a working-class family in Maine. Her mother died when she was young, and her father was an alcoholic. From the ages of 12 to 13, she would be employed as a live-in servant in the home of Chief Justice Weston of Maine's Supreme Judicial Court. The moment Helen turned 18, she left the Weston home to move to Portland, Maine, and began working as a high society courtesan. She used various aliases throughout the years, moving to Boston and finally to New York. Helen worked hard over the years, using each alias to become a highly sought-after courtesan. On April 10th of 1836 at 3 a.m., Helen's body would be discovered by the matron Rosianna Townsend in New York's most exclusive brothel, where Helen was employed. When Rosianna discovered Helen, she found her room filled with smoke, and she could see that Helen's body was lying on the floor amongst the flames. Investigators believe that Helen's murder had taken some place after midnight. The coroner's report detailed that Helen was struck in the head 3 times with a sharp object that they believed was possibly a hatchet. Based on how her body was discovered in her bed, the coroner believes that she was not expecting the attack because there was no sign of a struggle. Investigators interviewed the women who lived in the brothel, and based off those interviews, they would arrest 19-year-old Richard P. Robinson, a well-known and respected clerk in the garment trade, on suspicion of Helen's murder. Richard, a wealthy man who came from a privileged, highly regarded family, was seen by witnesses fleeing over a newly whitewashed fence, and his cloak and hatchet would be found in the garden. Richard was a well-known face at the brothel because he had a tumultuous 10-month love affair with Helen. Investigators quickly rounded up Richard, confronting him with Helen's body, but he denied having anything to do with her death and didn't display any emotions when it came to being confronted by investigators. Investigators believe that their witness statements and the hatchet and cloak that were confirmed to be Richard's found in the garden of the brothel was enough to indict Richard for Helen's murder. And on June 2nd, 1836, Richard's murder trial began. There were days of testimony from multiple witnesses to include Rosianna, but the judge did tell the jury since most of these witnesses are sex workers, they are to disregard their testimony. Richard's defense for his cloak and axe being found in the garden was that they were simply invented to incriminate him as a suspect. Since the prosecution only had witness statements that were ordered to be ignored by the judge, they were left with circumstantial evidence as their whole case. In the end, the jury took a half an hour to declare an acquittal. The public was torn between sympathizing with Helen, while others believed she was simply a seductress who deserved her fate. There were those in the working class of New York that really felt like Richard was guilty, and he was able to use his influence and wealth to basically buy an acquittal. There were rumors swirling that he even bought off jurors during the trial. Shortly after the trial, personal letters of Richard would show him in a very different light. These letters detailed that he was capable of vicious, deviant sexual behavior, and the public quickly turned against him, including some of those who had been his biggest supporters. A few days after the letters were made public and the public opinion shifted, Richard would move to Texas, leaving New York behind and changing his name in an attempt to hide his identity. Despite the trial ending in an acquittal, there were many books written about Helen's case for years preceding her murder, and newspapers who noted that readers and sales soared during the trial learned that turning these cases into a media spectacle paid big. Helen's case, despite this trial, is still listed as unsolved. Did police focus too much on Richard and miss out on potential suspects? Or was Richard able to use his powerful connections and his wealth to walk away a free man? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you all back here next week for another mystery in history.